All right.
All right, we're live. Welcome to paraglidingtalk.com. I'm your host, Robert Michaels. Glad you are here. Just want to say thanks to everybody who's logging in. There's already 14 people waiting, 16 people waiting in the chat. Glad that you're here. We have a great show lined up. It's Local Chaos. We're going to take your questions and comments in the chat. So if you've got stuff that you're interested in talking about, or you want to something that you want to bring to the table tonight that will make you a better pilot, you should put your questions or comments in the chat, and we'll get those things filtered through the old moderation team, which is Anthony Peregringo, Ripman Ryden, and also Sean Nafsker in moderation tonight. I did send out a couple other invites. If you check your email, we do want to have there's a couple more people that I invited, so you might be on that list. And then for sure, at the end of the show, we're going to put out an invite for people watching if you wanted to come and hang out with us in the after show. And so awesome. Want to mention a couple sponsors. One of those is PPG Smoke, Ryan Roberts. I was just talking to Ripman just before the show about the headsets. He's jumped another pretty huge hurdle on the communications through radio. So super cool progress happening. And I'm anticipating a version 2 very soon, and some really cool news. So if you want to check out what he's got going on his website, ppgsmoke.com, he just also came up with a new chase cam that is more user friendly. And so go check that out on the website. Also, paramotorprops.com is one of our sponsors. Paramotor Props, obviously, if you have a need to buy, maybe you bought a new motor, motors don't always come with a prop. You can get a prop from them right away. Paramotorprops.com, and go on their contact page, ask them questions. They've got all the answers, and they got great deals on the interwebs for your stuff. Also, American Allied Drains and Plumbing. If you're in the San Diego area and you have need of plumbing, maybe it's service plumbing, or maybe you need some installation plumbing, you can reach out to American Allied Drains and Plumbing. Their phone number is 844-777-9055. And when you call them, you mention Paragliding Talk, they will give you a 10% discount on whatever services you need. So if you're watching and you're in the San Diego area, you found the right plumbing company. They're paragliding certified supporters. So pretty awesome. So glad to see some friendly faces in the chat. Glad that you guys are coming to log on. I see Kevin Flies in there. Leah Cachulo's with us in there. Also a couple other famous people. My mom's in there. She's pretty famous. Gluteus Vanius, John Wayne. You guys are awesome. Aaron I. Really glad that you guys are here. If you see Bill H. Tori Pope. What's up, Tori? Tori's got the meanest beard in paragliding. Also David Andrade. He's a newly minted P3. Right on. I have a meme for you, Dave. This is I was just we have this little group. It's the Telegram California memes chat. You can only talk through memes, and so I love creating memes. It's my favorite pastime. It's great. But I posted this in the meme chat, and it says newly minted P3 talking to P2s at Torrey Pines. Yeah. So that's Dave now. Congratulations, Dave. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, Torrey Pines is the recommended place. I saw that question that you had. Christopher Ottmeyer, he's in the chat. Who else? Cowboy PPG. You guys are awesome. Shannon Brooks. Man, there's a lot of people in here tonight. How many people we got going here? 35 already.
The awesome. One and only Aaron I. He's
Aaron
in here too.
I. Gerald Kalopos.
So what's going on, Robert? What's happening this last week? I've been stuck up in Tennessee, up in the mountains flying.
Yeah.
What I missed this past week? You've been getting me flying in?
We've had some awesome shows, obviously. And if you want to go back and find some of those shows, you can go to paraglidingtalk.com. The things that I know you were at a couple fly-ins. The things that you missed were just a couple really good guests. Harley Milne was on the show last week. I don't know if I think that was the show you missed. And then we talked. Chris Cote was on. We talked all about flying and what it takes to be involved in a competition flying. And then we had Brad Ganuscio and just talking about safety. Tonight, what I'd really like to talk about, there's a handful of, and Gringo asked me a couple days ago, he's like, who you going to have on the show this week? And I said, nobody. We're going to have, we need to talk about some crashes that happened and some things. So I want to first talk just very quickly about this video that went absolutely bonkers viral. It happened somewhere overseas, I assume. I'm going to pull up the video, and as soon as you see it, you're going to know.
That was crazy.
This has to do with some acrobatics and free flight, and the situation had something to do with a malfunction. Now, these guys are flying with multiple reserves for a reason. So this video, it's Kevin Phillip. I've been following him for a while.
Change the view to speaker view, Robert, so we all see it.
Okay, I can do that. And so
restart.
Ooh. And I'm just gonna let it play while I'm talking for a minute. I'm hopeful that it won't ding me for copyright infringement for sharing this. But anyways, what ends up happening here, Kevin ends up tangled in, and this is not Kevin Can Fly. Kevin Can Fly. He would never let this happen to himself. He throws his first reserve, and it goes into the wing, and so we'll analyze this just a little bit. You can see this video's got just a few seconds.
What a way to stay calm, though. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and he's kind of a cold giggle at the end, but you can see. Okay, so it starts off with him, and by the way, this is the most well documented collapse video I've ever seen. So he's trying to do like some twisted stuff. Everything seems to be twisted nowadays, so you can't just do an infinite tumble and be cool anymore. It's got to be a twisted infinite tumble if you're going to be cool. So he's working on something. I'm not sure exactly what, but he gets tangled up. You can see it's obviously tangled around his GoPro. This is something that we always worry about when you put the GoPro on your helmet. Also, he's dealing with the reserve not coming out of the bag. Part of the reason why reserves won't come out of the bag is because they haven't been repacked enough. They haven't been repacked in a long time. So these are some negative things that I'm going to rattle off. Obviously, he's got a lot of fabric out. Now, this is an important factor when you screw up, and if you have multiple reserves, the more the merrier. Even if they're all tangled up, at least you have more fabric. Something may catch some wind and slow down.
I mean, he was
descent.
at terminal velocity there, right? At that end there? He was
for sure. Really close. Really close. Yep. And this happens really fast. Now, he's probably about, I'm guessing, 2,500 feet, maybe somewhere in that range. It's hard to tell. I guess what I'd really like to do is get him on the show and see if he'll talk about it.
Great interview.
Yeah. He's, I've been following him for a while, and now his channel's just gigantic. But just before this happened, obviously he didn't really have a bajillion followers. But anyways, he throws the reserve, and the very first thing that happens is it ends up inside of or wrapping around the setup. Now watch carefully. I wish I could slow-mo it, but he's right now, he knows he needs to get his reserve out. It's like, oh, dang it, I'm burnt. Okay, so pulls the reserve out, but now watch the reserve. It's floating out next to him, not coming out of the bag.
Coming out, yeah.
And it wraps around the glider. It's literally just circled around him like 3 or 4 times, and now it's hitting him in the head. So now he has to pull his second reserve, throws that. Luckily, that one pops out, and it looks, I mean, literally, he's got maybe 100 feet, probably less. And so anyways, a few takeaways from this. Obviously, you want to have plenty of altitude when you're doing any kind of acrobatics. And when I say acrobatics, wing overs is, in my opinion, the beginning of acro. So when it comes down to business, you're putting yourself in a position to potentially have to throw your reserve. Worst case scenario is you're in your wing. Now, he was pretty much in that worst case scenario level of needing to throw. I think there was a little hesitancy because he might have been kind of trying to get lines that were a little bit taut off of his hands so he could throw his reserve. You can see that once he finally gets it out, there's not a whole lot that he can do, but just kind of wait for that thing to pop out and save him. They say that, and I've never thrown reserve, but they say, it feels like the hand of God. Just you're falling and then just feels like you're getting yanked up. Something to think about, in this situation, he could have had lines wrapped around his neck. It looked like they were around his head. If that thing decides to pop back open, there's obviously situations where stuff, exploding, lines getting caught. It's turmoil in milliseconds. Nick Griffith donated $5 to Super Chat. He said, this show is brought to you by get your gear inspected. That's right. You should get your gear inspected. But this fear is that this stuff is going to, if it doesn't kill you because you're falling to the ground, you're going to deal with some entanglement issues, lose your GoPro. The rest is history. All kinds of different things can happen even before you hit the ground. Second reserve comes out. Middle of the second reserve, it luckily came out very quickly, and he had a square.
He had a second or two. If that thing didn't open up, he was going to splat to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that maneuver was a helico McTwist. I believe Max Martini does that acro move a lot, and it's not an easy thing, but it is very easy to gift wrap it if you're not, your timing's a little off or something is awry.
Leah says most acro pilots would pack their own. I would imagine, definitely, for sure.
Yeah, I really recommend you become, especially if you're doing acro, you become really close. You develop a really close relationship to your reserves. If you don't know what that means, you need to go and figure out what that means. Go and learn how to pack your own glider. Learn how that glider, not glider, obviously the reserve. Learn how that thing goes in a bag. Don't assume that I literally purchased my setup, my very first setup, and first thing I did was go and look on YouTube, try to find videos, repack videos, just in case there was nobody that was going to be willing to do it. I found my exact reserve and a video start to finish every step of a repack.
How many reserves you have, Robert?
Right now I have 3, but not on me when I'm free flying. Yeah.
I own 4, and I'm actually getting another one. A new advanced square light came out, and it really packs up small.
Yeah, I'm about to purchase a new harness. I need a new pod harness, and mine's getting ready. It's in its older days, and I'm probably going to get a new lighter reserve and try to. I'm getting fatter, so I need to either lose some weight or I need to lose some.
Lay off the pizza.
Yeah, no pizza. So I want to talk about another, there was a situation, and maybe you guys know more about these details, and I apologize ahead of time for not having names or not knowing who the people are, but you guys maybe have heard about this. It's, I think it's Wachusett Brewing Company is the sponsor of this guy, but it's in Wachusett, Wisconsin, I believe, or Massachusetts. Well, the guy ends up having an accident where unfortunately, it was on a Ring camera. I say unfortunately because the news grabbed it right away and posted it. I'm not going to play the audio because I don't want them to copyright me and jack up this video because I want it to be something that people can learn from. But what ends up happening here is you have a couple guys, and I'm gonna go to the full screen if I can. Yeah. Full screen here. I guess I can Yeah, I don't know how to lock my own screen. So what ends up happening here, these guys are, they're launching a couple of trikes, and you can see the guy in the white is the guy that's going to crash. Now, right here, I thought that was the end of the story. He was going to fly into the trees, and that's
The
it.
video stopped, Robert.
Yeah, but the you're going to see right here, he ends up nose down spiral, crashes straight into the ground. He's seriously injured. They put him in emergency ICU. I haven't heard anything more about his condition, but what the only thing that I could suspect was that he possibly had brake lock, and you can see where in the next little portion of the video, you'll see that he's going up. It looks like he's not getting enough altitude to clear the trees, and he ends up making a kind of a bad decision. That's funny. Kyle Oakley just dropped a video. It just looks to me like he made a mistake on calculating altitude to get over those trees. Oh, really? What just happened here? I want to see that part again. I couldn't get the impression that the guy was, it just looked like he was getting ready to go right into the trees. Well, I think he made the full turn. I would love to see the rest of the video. I think he made the full turn and then came back around again to the trees because, Rip, man.
Sorry.
And it literally covered up the part that I wanted to watch. Dang it, Rip.
Sorry.
Yeah, so anyways, guy ends up spiraling down. I can scrub. I didn't realize I could do that. So he, you can see him wing overing. So obviously he made it into the altitude where he was safe. It's really unusual. The only thing that makes sense to me is brake lock. And I'll just describe what brake lock is real quick. Brake lock is when you maybe have a situation where your brake, you lifted your brakes up and you have them in your hand, but they're going through maybe an A riser or a middle riser or whatever. And when you go to pull the brake, it doesn't retract back on the weight of the air on the wing, right? So your trailing edge, you pull it, and now your trailing edge is just stuck down. And then you let go and your brake doesn't go up. It's just dangling and not doing anything. So I think that was a part of what happened to Max Marion when he had his accident and broke his back. You have to be very diligent how you're grabbing your brakes. I've got a video from early on where I was at Little Black, and I learned this lesson the hard way and had to try to fly through some pretty weird stuff with my toggle all wrapped around in rear risers. And so something really important to add to your checklist when you are grabbing your glider, especially if you're doing a reverse launch, because it gets confusing quick. You know
Clear
what I
to the
mean?
pulley. That's all you got to do. Clear to the pulley.
Yep, clear to the pulley.
That'll stop it all.
Yeah, gluteus fannius thought that it's possibly a tension knot. I would have to agree. That's very possible too. The only reason I'm hesitant to go after some kind of line failure or line tension knot is because you can't really see any deformation in the glider. It looks fine, and he's got some pretty good lift, but the video is from far away. But that's a great thought.
There was an incident with a trike flyer that I knew that had an issue where her brake line had been caught on her cage on a trike, and that forced the right turn and straight down kind of issue as well. So I'm wondering if maybe because that was a trike, I'm beginning to wonder if maybe they might have had the same kind of issue where that brake line had been caught, because he does make a right turn and he's still in a right turn as he's coming down. Yeah, I think that's very likely one way or the other. The brake is locked up somehow on something.
Yeah. And if you're trying to fix it, what ends up happening is, especially when you let off the other brake, because if you have both brakes in and you're full throttle and you're just climbing, you might be slowly climbing and dangerously close to stall or whatever, but at least you've got some thrust and you're climbing out, gaining altitude. Personally, I think if you're in a situation where it's too late, you've launched and you're going, and it looked like that's this scenario, because why would he want to yank turn to the right and go towards the bushes? That makes no sense, other than he had a brake situation where it was locked. And so now he has to compensate with the other brake and really be dangerously launching. Okay, so he didn't do that. He hands up, turned to the right. Okay, now he's in a turn, and it looked like he was going to make it and possibly get up. Now, if he's up and he lets the good side free, what's going to happen? Right? It's just going to start right into a nose down spiral. You're going for the gusto. I mean, it's like, what do you do when you want to do a sat? You just start pulling that one brake and keep pulling, and all of a sudden now you're in a sat. And that's where he just straight into the ground. So he probably got to the place where he was maybe trying to reach with the other hand, and it just happens so fast that the G's build up within, I would say, 3 seconds. You're already getting G forces where you're not thinking properly, you're not in control. So what can we take away? This is what I took away. Get some altitude. Try your best. It's not always convenient when you're free flying, but if you have a motor on your back, full send. Hit the gas, control yourself. If one brake's jammed, try to compensate the same amount with that other hand and do your best. It's better than going into a face down spiral. You're going to have to be careful, because depending on how far you pulled that brake the first time and it's locked in that place, it's always going to want to turn that way. You're going to have to try to manage that energy and yeah. So prayers out to the guy in Wachusett. Hey, Tori Pope donated $20 to the super chat. He said, thanks for being you. Thank you, Tori Pope. I appreciate that contribution to the show. I have another video. What are we at? Golly, we're already at 22 minutes. Let's do a giveaway to all the faithful people that logged in early.
So no more names in that wheel.
So I ordered another batch of these little retractable keychain things.
I believe they're called Mars.
Really appreciate you guys watching and being a part of the show. And
lanyard.
Yeah, lanyard, retractable.
Yeah, I believe it's
phone
lanyard. Saver,
or it can be you can put a mirror on there so you can check your fuel. I think that's what I'm going to do with mine. But Paul Elwood, who lives down the street, brought me a bunch of these, man. And so really good idea. He's always got good ideas, and he's contributed a bunch of stuff to the show over the years. Super cool guy. Yeah, but they're for fishing, actually. Yeah, so far so
no
good.
More names in more names in the wheel.
No more names in the wheel. So let it rip.
Let it rip. Yes. You said rip.
Let it rip.
Here we go.
Sponsors.
Yeah. The by the way, the spin of this wheel is brought to you by Nebraska PPG. I should make Josh pay for these things. Josh Bowden runs a school in Nebraska, and if you're interested in getting some training, you can sign up with him right now. We've got school going there in Nebraska. He's got a great organization and a really cool place to fly there in Nebraska. So sign up with him by going to the description and reach out to him through Facebook Messenger, and he'll get you all signed up and ready to go. Also, I want to mention Calamity Kite Clinic. Sean runs Calamity Kite Clinic. The website is calamitykiteclinic.com. Go there, sign up with him if you want to get some training, and very reasonable and stuff that you'll learn that will make you an excellent pilot ground handling. It's really close.
Oh,
I think it's Aaron I
think so too. It might be. Yeah. All right. Congratulations, Aaron I. You are a winner.
Aaron, please reach out to me through the website paraglidingtalk.com and go to contact, fill out the contact form, and send me your information. I'll send this out right away. Thank you for watching and being a part of the show always. So I want to show another video. This video is a low collapse on a 2-liner glider. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. I apologize for not having these things on deck, but I'm just, if you show them regularly on the Instagram, if I do it on the computer regularly, then they'll ding me.
The chat's going pretty fast, and you're gonna miss Hot Buttered Steve's little
donation.
Hot Buttered Steve donated $10 to Super Chat. He said, Robert, I wish to donate some cash money out of my wallet towards your zesty enterprise. If I don't see you in the air, I'll see you on the air. Ciao. I like that. I feel like
he likes your catchphrase.
It's a good catchphrase.
It is.
Now we see.
I didn't mean to do that.
It's worth repeating.
Okay, so here in this video, fitting that they would play the "Oh No" music. Let's not share the credit card information on the.
I was writing the number down.
Yeah, rip, man. There ain't no money in there. So watch what happens here. He's flying along. Little gust of wind takes out half his glider. This is I believe it's I want to say Nivea glider. I could be wrong.
It looks like a Nivea.
Yeah, I'm going to, let me see. Can I spotlight? Yeah, there we go. Now we're cooking with Crisco. So 2-liner glider on final. He's literally 50 feet off the ground. And he hits the ground hard. If you follow the comments, he does say that he's okay. He's recovering quickly.
He got whacked there, boy. Ooh.
He got whacked, and you can see it's just about half of his glider.
That's like a Venturi effect or something caused that. I wonder what's in front of him.
I think he landed on I think his bag helped him. Look, that pod.
Boom.
I bet it helped.
Okay, so now a couple things. It's very hard to tell. I'm going to try to get as close as I can to the camera. If you watch his hands, keep an eye on his hands. When the wing goes away,
down.
You don't see his hand go down.
He probably caught him off guard.
Oh, yeah, it caught him off guard. Now, here's why this is so important, that you keep your hands on your brake. Now, a lot of times I do this myself. I'll be cruising along. I'll be on my rear risers or on my, my rear riser, as if I had one of the rear toggles. You see the gliders that fly. Now, my Alpina 4, I'm like this, and my hands are in that little pocket that's on the rear. So I'm controlling my glider from the rears. I still got my brakes in my hands, but it's very relaxing to have your hands kind of just tucked in there, but there's really not as much control for the rear part of your glider. So Shane asked, is a deflation like that preventable? To the degree of that much of a dramatic fall, yes. I didn't, it's very hard to tell in that video, but just bear with me if you're watching this later and you're the guy and you're like, hey, no, I dropped my hand. It's very possible, but I didn't see a deflection on that side, and I didn't see his hand go down. What needs to happen is when you're flying, especially when you're coming in on final that low, you need to have some brake pressure on your rears or on your brakes. Why? Because you can feel what the wing is doing. He would have felt that much quicker had he felt any kind of loss. You just let the weight of your hand go into it, and that pump, when you shove it down, it literally scoops the air and pressurizes what's left of the glider for just a moment. So you can try to keep it from going that bad. He lost 50% of that glider. It's my opinion that it was because he didn't properly react. I could be wrong on that, but I
think it happened so fast. He was so low, he wasn't expecting anything like that to happen.
Yeah.
Didn't the same thing happen to Tony?
Tony
similar.
Yes,
What?
his was a frontal direct, right in the very front of his whole glider, went away.
Okay, so yeah.
So is that possible? Yes. Something that you should know though is that these gliders are they are incredibly well made to and incredibly there's under so much tension. It works really good. Will Fly donated $5 to Super Chat. He said Resurgence PBG rocks. Thanks, Will Fly. By the way, Will Fly, I sent you an invite. I don't know if you can come on the show. Could you stop that as well? It is very possible. But like Ripman said, it happens incredibly fast. You can't really. How many of you have ever been flying along, and this happens a lot in free flight, and you feel a gust of wind, like it'll kind of hit you. It just like I'm talking an unusual amount of wind just for a split second. It'll like it's like a car drove by you super fast. There are rogue little weird bubbles that will be traveling past. Now I can compare it to wake from a tandem at Torrey Pines. If you've ever flown at Torrey Pines, you know what I'm talking about. You'll be flying along, tandem will be going by, you'll be on the same level, you'll wave, everything's cool, and then all of a sudden your whole wing just goes, whoa, what the heck was that? You get waked by a tandem. Same situation will randomly happen when you're flying, especially, and I don't want to say midday, maybe even just evening after work, glass off type flight. These random gusts of wind will come by and mess you up. And so I know I see everybody's telling me, you need to say hi to your son. These kids are just trolling me.
He's right behind you.
Yeah, I know. Literally came in just to mess with me. What is it?
I donated.
Oh, is this the donation?
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy. Donate $5 to the super chat. In person, though. Get out of here. This is probably my $5. Probably took it.
Out of your wallet.
Yeah. Yeah, he probably did. Sneaky. So yeah, this is a situation that is preventable in my opinion, and it has a lot to do with you just being paying close attention to what's happening. Be on your best. Okay, so let's talk about gust fronts. We've another video. I couldn't pull it up in time. It's just, but I can explain exactly what happened. Terrifying video. Some of you probably already saw it. Wow, Chris Fenmore donated $20 to Super Chat. He said Resurgence PBG rolls. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate that contribution, man. You are awesome. And Resurgence PBG does rock. I just saw, I got a little note from Amazon Smile. So whenever you purchase stuff, Amazon Smile, by the way, is the way you should purchase stuff, and choose Resurgence PBG as your donation outlet, the place where they're going to catch the donation money. So Amazon does a bunch of charity stuff. It's obviously, part of their thing. Amazon Smile, and then choose Resurgence PBG. You just have to do a little digging. If you have questions on that, if you need some help with that, I'll help you in the after show. But yeah, so gust fronts, sometimes they're hard to predict. And depending on where you are on the planet, gust fronts are going to show up in different ways. Different mountain ranges have different reactions to different wind patterns. Sometimes you have, big mountain range with a valley, and the air is just going to rush like, if you can imagine, if it was going to be a flash flood, but it's wind instead of water. Imagine how that wind is going to affect how it's going to come into the valley. Something we always joke around about is we'll be at Blossom, and because Blossom is in a sense valley flying, Blossom doesn't care about your weather call. So we joke around and we say, yeah, you can say whatever you want about the weather, but Blossom will decide if it's going to be good or not. Does not care. I've flown on days where I'm like, man, it's going to be awesome. Completely sucked. And I'm landing way out in the middle of the valley. And then I've gone on days where it was mediocre and I just had to go and fly. And instead, I end up just having the greatest day. No one's there. It just happened to me two times this season. You show up and buttery smooth. It looks hazy because the lapse rate sucks. There's an inversion that's super thick, and the air is so stable that it's just a nasty haze, and you're thinking, oh, it's not going to be any good, but you go anyways just to get a workout or do some practice or whatever, and just be amazed. So a lot of situations where Blossom doesn't care about your weather call. Well, there's a video going around on Instagram and probably on YouTube. Hey, what's up, Will Fly?
Hey, Will.
Hey, guys.
There's some situations that pop up with, and I'll remove my spotlight here. There's this, I want to say probably 40-mile-an-hour winds, maybe even higher. Just massive gusts of wind, and you have like 6 gliders in the air, and they're all trying to land. And now they're all going to land backwards, but it's even worse than that. It's not just laminar wind blowing them backwards. It's like throwing them up and then making their wings collapse. And now you've got rotor from some of the trees that are in the valley, and these guys are all trying to land. And the people that are in the LZ are scrambling to try to get to them as all these people are hitting the deck, taking collapses, falling into the ground. If you haven't seen the video, you're going to see it. It's going to come up. I tried to pull it up just before the show, and I couldn't find it. But insanity. So let's talk about what are some of the things that you can do. You're caught in a gust front, because this goes both ways. This can be for paramotoring or free flight. There are going to be situations where you're going to launch and there's going to be no wind. You're going to come into land and there's going to be a bunch of wind. This has happened to me a couple times where I flew with Gringo one time, and the winds picked up, and it was not a good day to fly. We still sent it, and I was brand new to paramotoring, and it just felt like a regular free flying day to me. But all the guys were on the ground, and I'm like, I have a feeling that this is not normal. Like, we shouldn't be flying in this. And so me and another guy went. The other guy followed me because he's like, oh, it must be fine if Robert's doing it. He's a new guy. And everyone stayed on the ground. We did our thing. We flew over the lake. At one point, I got just my butt handed to me. And luckily, I was able to check the glider a couple times, fixed it, shot out in front of me, and I fixed it. And then we were over the water at the lake. I didn't have flotation. I'm like, whoa, this is a bad situation. I was like probably 2,000 feet in the air and just getting completely rocked on that day, and didn't realize that there was a system coming in. And if you know anything about the area where we fly, there's a pretty big gap valley between these two mountains. And all that air was rushing straight through there and venturing out, and then just causing chaos in the air. And we didn't know. And so it was actually David Northup. He was the one that was flying with me, and he's on radio, and he's like, wow, this is really turbulent. Is this what it feels like to free fly? And I was like, yeah, kind of, but this is a little bit crazy. And I'm not liking it because I don't like the motor feeling like I feel like I'm hitting my elbows on metal, and there's just like stuff in the way. And it just paramotoring, when I'm flying my paramotor, I feel like I'm in a different, genre. It's a different thing for me. So I'm much more comfortable now, but even to this day, it's kind of like, I just try to keep it flat and level. This day was gnarly when we came to land. Now, there are going to be situations, especially if I can just say this, your trees that normally that place where you land are not a big deal. In a gust front, you're downwind, that's your demise, because the rotor that's going to come off of those trees. I want to try something here. I guess I can do that.
Robert, you emptied one out of your luck bucket that day. I want to make sure you fill that bucket back up.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a bad day.
Here, I wonder if I can do this. We're going to try something here. Can you guys see this?
Sure.
And I wonder if the people can see it. Is this what's being shared on the thing? Let me get just.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Well, the smiley face.
Yeah, so we should be able to. I guess I should probably do this on another time, but I'm just going to do this quick drawing. So you've got your LZ. Let me see. I can draw my. Here's my tree, and you've got your LZ is here, and your wind direction is this direction. Now you might have your flag here and your back of your Jeep, and you're saying, okay, I'm good to go. I know it's strong, but I'm okay. What's happening with the wind is this turmoil. Wind is coming over, and now it's doing this. So if you were to stand in this area, your wind direction is going to feel like it's going to shove you into the trees. And what happens is you have depending on your wind speed, up to 6 times the distance of your object. So now our tree just got 6 times bigger. I don't know if that makes sense to everybody, but if we're 6 times, oh, it's not sharing, is it? Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing on here. But anyways, let me see if
Kind of think of it like your shadow, like a shadow of a tree. When the sun's right at the edge of the earth or whatever, you can see the long line. Something kind of like that, but a bit
It's
more.
Sharon.
Yeah, this has to do with mountains. So whatever it is, like if it's just a tree, it's not that big of a deal. You multiply that thing 6 times and it's like whatever. I don't know how to close this now. Great. I shouldn't have messed with this. It says new on there too. Close whiteboard. Boom. So 6 times. If it's a mountain, that mountain is going to have 6 times. If you added that mountain 6 times, that's how far that rotor will reach you. So you have to be considering this, even if it's just a 10-mile-an-hour wind. What's happening on the back side of that thing is brutal. So rotor is a killer. So okay, now let's compound that. The winds are blowing 40 miles an hour. Can anybody tell me what your average glider speed is? Quick, average glider speed.
27 miles an hour, 25.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
25. That's pretty fast. That's a 19 meter and you're loaded up. When you come into the land, my glider at trim, I fly an Alpina. It's a Alpina 4. I fly right at the top, and my average speed is about 22, between
Nice.
22 and 24. Okay, so it's good little speed, just kind of cruising along. Now we're flying into the wind, 40-mile-an-hour gust front. How fast are we going? When we're not on brakes, we're going trim speed.
Flying into the wind.
Yeah,
So
40-mile-an-hour gust.
17 miles an hour.
negative 20.
Oh yeah, you're going backwards.
You're going
17
backwards.
Backwards.
17 miles an hour backwards. Now, I don't know if you have ever tried to run 17 miles an hour forwards. That's like full sprint. Okay. That's as
You can't
fast
even
as you
run.
could probably run. So now you're going backwards that fast. And you're going to try now to fix your glider. While if you've ever kited in 15-mile-an-hour winds, and you feel like you're going to die because the glider just rips you off the ground. And if you're doing it at Torrey Pines, I've been plucked so many times, throws you in the air. The glider, when it's in its lift zone, where you go from here to here, and
That's
from
called
this
the
point,
power zone.
that's right,
Right
the
around
power zone.
45%.
All of a sudden, you get to here, and you're getting yanked out of the picture. When you're coming into land in a gust front, game over. It's a whole different ball game. You're flying backwards. You can't see where you're landing. You might be looking over your shoulders, and to boot, you've got these collapses that are happening. Okay, so when you're taking collapses, what are you doing when you're taking collapses? You're doing this, grabbing your brakes, you're throwing down, you're trying to stop it, and now you've got a situation where you're slowing yourself down and you're increasing your backwards speed, right? Because if you're flying at 22 miles an hour on trim and you add brakes, now you're slowing yourself down. Guess what happens? Your reverse airspeed goes up. Now you're going 25 backwards or 30 backwards. So something to think about. Cowboy PBG said Rip runs at 14 miles per hour. Thanks, Cowboy. That's good information.
Well, and it's quite an experience when you're going backwards and you have to land and you have to touch down on the ground and manage a glider without getting dragged or plucked back up and dragged. It's an experience, and it's generally not a fun one.
Yeah, you can't. I would argue that it's very difficult to control the situation. So what can you do? In these situations, knowing how to kite your glider is gonna save you some serious pain. Because here's what happens: you come into land, you're landing backwards, so now you get dragged, and the first thing that happens is your glider goes into our power band, right? And it's probably going to yank you and then collapse in front of you. So there's two different situations. And these are all my opinions. You do your own research, talk to your instructor, get some good feedback from people who have experienced this. This is my experience. Two things. One, what's the most common thing people do? Bury the brakes as deep as you possibly can, and basically you're full stalling the glider. That's not the best answer, in my opinion. It will work. It might get you your glider to slam on the ground. But if you can kill your glider, this is going to sound crazy, but frontal your glider with the A's, you got a much better chance. It's still going to try to pop up. It's still going to try to go crazy. But that instant, I want down and I want on the ground and kill my glider. This is what I've done in the past at Torrey Pines. There's some drawbacks to that. We'll talk about that in a second. The second thing is it involves kiting practice. Your rear risers, you need to learn how to kill your glider with your rear risers. Okay, so now
that's what I call the safeties. That's what I call safeties, or refer to as safeties.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what I tell Robert, everyone, when they're kiting is I want you to let go of the brakes. I want you to grab the lines. I want you to go for the A's. I want you to get a feel and know where the lines are, know what's what. Don't just rely on the brakes and, reverse kite. Let everything go. Grab the outer lines of the brakes. Grab your A's, pull the wing back up. If it falls back, just really get your whereabouts about, where the lines are to become second nature.
Yeah. So grabbing those rear risers and just yanking them down, getting control of the glider. And I'm talking about when I'm kiting and I'm facing my glider, I will grab the rears and bring the glider down. So when you're facing into the wind, and let's say we're going backwards, if you're just about to touch the ground, it's my opinion that you grab your rear risers just as your butt is about to hit the ground.
Your rears or your A's?
Your rears.
Okay, go ahead.
Rears. And you're going to just blast those things down. You gut the glider of its power band, and your A's will still be on top, and you have more control to bring the glider down, and you're going to smack the trailing edge on the ground. And now you have control of the glider. And so if you can do it, it happens in one motion. You're turning your body and killing the glider at the same time. And if you do it right, you can actually land on your feet. Now, if it's 40-mile-an-hour gust, probably not going to be the case. You're going to get dragged, but at least you're killing your glider and falling back, and it's still going to try to drag you, but you have control to kill the glider. So I think the best thing for me, what I would do is grab those rear risers and just jam them down, and simultaneously try to turn and maybe go on my side or something like that. Once you're on the ground, and you should all know this answer, what is the next best thing to do? You're out of control. You did the rear riser thing. You got on the ground, it slammed, and maybe a hand came out. Now your glider's doing weird stuff. What do you do?
Get some
Grab
fabric.
and wrap your Sabilo.
Try to turn the glider parallel to the wind.
You can't grab any fabric. That would be awesome, but you can't.
How about
Grab a
beat?
Sabilo line and wrap up. Wrap
Okay.
up, wrap up, wrap up, wrap up, wrap up, wrap up, wrap up.
Okay.
Grab that glider.
Take your brake, one of them, just start reeling it in as much as you can drag until you drag that whole glider to your hand. to grab the fabric, to answer will fly. So that's, there's obviously different situations, scenarios. You need to be thinking fast, obviously. Don't just let the thing drag you. Everybody's probably seen the guy with the parachute, and he comes in and lands, and then he's just getting dragged across the street. It's in Russia. He's like dragged across the road, and people are just watching him. That doesn't have to be you, right? Know how to control your glider in stronger winds. I encourage you, if you can do it, and you have a nice big open field, see what 15 miles an hour feels like. Bust the glider out and learn. Start on a small glider. Work your way into launching strong wind conditions. It's especially for free flight guys. If you're ever going to go the distance in free flying, I'll say this: you're going to miss some good flying opportunities because you didn't just do your homework ground handling. And these are, in my opinion, the real critical things. Like, anybody can pull a wing up and launch, right? That's like what everybody practices when it comes to ground handling. But when you learn how to control your glider in powered up situations where the wind can mess you up, that's when ground handling, it has its value. When you're standing on launch and at Blossom and the gusts are 15 miles an hour, and you're not sure, and everybody's kind of standing around. I'm not sure if it's going to be good, and or it's whatever. I can still Cobra launch my glider up. I'm getting better and better. Cobra it up and then get it over my head and launch. I feel stronger now than ever before on ground handling, and it's because I've spent some time. I'm going to say something really controversial right now. You should ground handle and practice on launch every once in a while. Don't just get your glider up and run off the hill every time. Why do that? Pull your glider up, put it on the ground, pick it back up, put it on the ground, reverse kite, forward launch, practice every
being
different
deliberate.
Scenario. Yeah, you have
be
to.
deliberate. Put the glider where you want it and where you need it, when you need it and when you want it.
So
if
think
you
about
feel
this.
comfortable with the glider to the left, get it to the left. Control it. Don't let it drag you. Don't let it pluck you. Just control it.
I kind of want to bring the
Yeah.
whiteboard out one more time, since I know how to turn it off now. This is a situation. I'm hopeful that the viewers are able to see this, but I'll just be quick about this. So we're on the hill. Here's our launch. Okay, so this is Blossom. We'll just put the Jeep over here, and we're just gonna do some ground handling. The air is coming up, and it's kind of just making its little bend, and this is where I want my glider, right? I'm standing on launch. I'm getting ready to send it. So many different situations now with ground handling here compared to flatland ground handling. Your air is doing a different thing when you're on the ground. So my glider is going to act differently on a flat ground than it is here. You can get incredibly deep in your brakes while you're standing on launch on the hill compared to when you're on the ground. You'll get a false impression of what your glider is capable of if you're ground handling on flat ground compared to when you're on the side of a hill. Okay, so why is that important? Because there are people that will put themselves in situations launching, and they'll be too ginger on their brakes because they think I can't, I don't want to stall my glider. But there's much more forgiveness in the fact that the air is coming straight up the hill and your glider is getting hit directly like this instead of directly like this, right? So what I can think of one drawback: you're coming in to land and you're at the bailout. It's at the end of the day, and you're like, I don't want to land in the valley. I have to land next to my car. You can get much deeper in your brakes than you could if you were flat, and if all of your training was on the ground, on flat ground, then you're going to have a misrepresentation of your glider. So bring your glider up in some winds on the side of the hill. Very important.
There
Being
is a
able
lot of
to
lift.
control your glider.
There is a lot of lift when you're on a hill compared to flat land.
Go
Absolutely.
get dragged
There's times where
around.
there's times where you'll bury your brakes and the glider will actually want to pluck you and fly forwards
Yeah.
while you have your brakes down even. Yeah.
It is dangerous kiting in stronger winds. I know I've seen Ripman get dragged around. I've seen NASCAR get dragged around before. It is a part of the nature of what we're doing. So I encourage you, go and get dragged around. Make it a safe place wherever you're going to go get dragged around by. But you can find out so much more about your glider if you have a little bit of wind. Torrey Pines Glider Port has been very gracious on certain windy days. And I'll tell you this, on windy days, you don't have a bunch of people out there kiting. So when you decide, you know what, I'm going to go kite in this, you're likely going to be by yourself. Again, I said this is controversial. You better be careful with this. This information that I'm giving you is very dangerous, but that is the way that you're
careful
going
with
to learn.
choosing the right wing for
Yeah.
that wind speed as well. Don't be going out with your 28-meter glider and you're only 100 pounds, thinking that you're going to keep the glider up and everything's going to be gravy when it's an 18-mile-an-hour wind. And we're not counting gusts. We're talking wind. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey,
Keep
Robert.
in mind the gusts. The gusts are always higher than what the wind is.
I was at the beach and I got plucked and I got thrown back about 30 feet into the sea grapes. It took me 2 hours to get my glider out of there.
Oh, those sea grapes are brutal too.
I mean, I just touched those brakes and I just got jerked off my feet. I couldn't even fly the glider. Next thing I know, I was just back in the sea grapes.
No
Any
no
video?
motor, right?
No motor.
Okay, that's good.
Hey,
2 hours. I had to get the step ladder out of my truck to get the lines up the sea grapes.
Oh,
Mm.
Hey, Robert, the Jack Burton and I think it was Yankee Paramotor. They mentioned grabbing the bees, and that's how I kill my wing is by grabbing the bees.
you can. Yeah.
If for some reason it just feels like it's more under control that way and instant. But on the other hand, if it's an emergency, sometimes I think it's easier to quickly locate the D's than it is to, try to grab the bees. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll tell you the
Here's
reason.
Another thing too, with the winds and the gusts, if you're in conditions where you're pulling those seas and the glider's shooting down and the glider is fighting you, generally it's turbulent enough to where even when you're pulling those seas down to your butt cheeks,
Still trying to fly.
it's going to be bouncing and
Yep.
it's going to seem turbulent. You'll be okay and you'll be able to manage, but it will make the glider bounce like crazy if the gusts.
Yeah, you
are
spend enough
extreme.
time ground handling in strong winds, you'll figure out pretty quick that it's very difficult to slip your hands in to get the C's. It's hard enough to get the D's. So it is something that you're going to have to time properly. I wear gloves when I'm flying all the time because you're going to rope burn yourself to death. There are times when I've had my glider pull through my hand and smoke come off my glove. If it was my bare hands, that would have been horrible. But yeah, controlling your glider. The other part of that is I like to be able to have control of my glider because I'm going to try to launch again, right? So if I screw up and it happens, my glider gets out of my hands a little bit, I get yanked back, or your feet come off the ground and the glider wants to collapse right away because you get plucked, and then as soon as you get plucked, now your glider wants to, and then you fall back to the ground, and then it reinflates and it drags you back, and you've seen it 100 times. If you're you have your rear risers and you're powering it down, you can still keep the top row of your glider intact, and so you can prepare to relaunch, or you're just holding your rear risers. I've done this before, like me and Gringo flew the other day, and it was probably 12 at Fiesta, 12 miles an hour maybe.
You flew paramotors?
Yeah, we flew paramotors,
Okay.
and I had my rear risers pinched between my knees because it was so strong that and I was still trying to start my motor, but my glider was inflated and ready to go, and it kept on trying to lift up, and I'm like, nope, not ready yet. Hold on a second. And so I'm holding my rear risers between my knees and then firing up my glider or firing up my motor. So, anyways, there's a few things, and again, this all goes back to trusting your practice. You can hear it, I can tell you stuff, but you really don't get it until you're out there doing it, getting your hands dirty. I want to
Learn
mention a
good
couple
habits.
Yeah, learn good habits. I want to mention maxacro.com. That's Max Acro's the website for Max's SIV training courses and learning. He can sign you off for multiple different things. He's a certified top-notch instructor. You can even get your tandem certification. You can do it through him and through Tori, and there's all kinds of great stuff on his website, maxacro.com. Also, this show is brought to you by iFly Indiana Powered Paragliding. If you're interested in flying paramotors, no better place to get the proper training than iFlyIndiana.com. Kevin and his team will get your feet off the ground. Also, I want to mention Lone Star Paramotor. Lone Star Paramotor, if you're in the Lone Star state of Texas, you can reach out to Ron Turan and his team for world-class training. And so really appreciate everybody. We're at that 7 o'clock mark. We're going to go to the after show. Thank you guys for coming on. That went way faster than I thought. I thought I was going to be able to just kind of poke around and talk about all these different things. And I guess we made it through the main ones. But
there's something for you there, Robert. That's the reason why I went with Calamity Kite Clinic to begin with, because when people get their gliders out and they don't know much, let the calamity begin.
Yeah, that's a good name. That's
Yes.
a good name for sure. Yep. So we're going to go to the after show. I'm going to drop the passcode and the link into the description. So if you guys want to hang out for us, I'm going to hang out for just maybe 10 minutes more and eat some dinner. But if you guys want to jump on, you're welcome to, and we'll see you on the next one. If I don't see you on the air, I'll see you in there. Have a great
Good night,
night.
everybody.
And,
Hi, Chatter.